Hello, this is Isha and you're watching The Progress Element. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a bit different because I will be speaking about my experience as a Pakistani international student in the United States. This is something that I've been meaning to share with you guys for a long time, and I haven't heard a lot of people speak about this topic. So before traveling to the United States, I was very curious about what it is like to be a Pakistani in this new country, how we are perceived, the cultural differences and similarities, the religious differences and similarities, any racism that people may face, and just what the educational differences are like also. So I will be talking about all of the above in today's video and hopefully sharing with you guys something that you find meaningful. But before I begin, I do want to mention that I am an international student. I have been to the United States as an exchange student on a J1 visa and also right now as a university student. So I've studied here for the high school level as well as the university undergraduate level, and in between I've done a number of other programs, but I am not an immigrant in the United States. That being said, my experience also cannot be generalized for every single person because people are different, I am different, and the United States is huge, so it has very different cultures and perceptions depending on which state you are living in. Just to give you guys some background information, I first came to the United States as an exchange student for the KL Yes program. I talk about the scholarship a lot here on my channel, and it is basically a year-long exchange program, and I was in the DC area. Currently, I'm a university student. So I am in San Francisco right now, and this is my third semester in the United States. Other than that, in between, I have been traveling to the US almost every year, usually during the summer for educational and leadership programs and scholarships and conferences and whatnot. I have been to Atlanta, Georgia. I've lived in the Boston area, and I've also lived in Chicago for a short bit. So these are some of the places that I've been to, and that is what my experience has been based off of. So now let's get right into it. First, I want to talk about the cultural perceptions in general. So when I was an exchange student in the US, I gave a lot of presentations about Pakistan because that was part of my program. I was representing my country on an international level and trying to tell people more about Pakistan and what it's like being a Pakistani. And so before I started any presentation, I would always ask people one question. I would ask them, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of the word Pakistan? And this is a really interesting question because people usually have a lot of interesting answers, and it helps me understand how they perceive Pakistan. So I would receive a wide range of answers, all from biryani because they are aware of our food, and there's lots of Indian and Pakistani restaurants around here. And some people would say, oh, Pakistanis have nice eyebrows, or they would say oil because they confuse us with the Middle East and they think we have lots of oil, which we sadly do not. And there would also be lots of people who would ask about Malala. I would also ask people to ask me questions about the country or any questions that they have about me. So I would sometimes receive some ignorant questions like, oh, do you ride camels on your way to school because they think Pakistan is a desert? Or they would ask something like, do you have the internet in Pakistan? Or they would ask how my story is linked with Malala's. And I think there was a lot of clarification that I needed to do in terms of culture, in terms of how geographically and ethnically diverse Pakistan is, and that we do have technology, we do speak English, and yes, so many people are so surprised that we speak English. They don't know that we are a former colony of the UK, and that's why basically we were colonized and now we study in English, and we actually study both English and Urdu at the same time. That is really surprising. So if you come here and you speak English, people will be impressed. Yeah, just enjoy that for a bit, I guess. And people do confuse us with Arabs and with the Middle East in general. I actually had this huge debate with a Pakistani American on how we are not Middle Eastern. And I actually had to show her the map and show her how we are not in the Middle East. I mean, the Middle East is a political term anyway, but we are still not in that region. We are in South Asia. And other than that, just trying to tell people about all the fun things that Pakistan represents and what it actually is like. Because I think a lot of times in American media, Pakistan is viewed as more of a repressive state. So if you guys haven't watched it already, there's some parts in the series Homeland, and those scenes are really problematic because they showcase Pakistan as something that it is not. And I haven't watched the show, but I have heard so many people talk about the misrepresentation of an entire country in this show. And I think these kind of things really impact the way Americans and people from other countries view us. So sometimes when you first meet someone for the first time, they might have a lot of these implicit biases, or they might have a lot of these implicit assumptions about what we are supposed to be like and how we are supposed to be like. And you will get a lot of interesting questions about that. So I think it's very important to be peaceful and to understand where the other person is coming from. At least that's what I did. And that's why I didn't term everything as negative. Also, I was a very young little baby. I was in high school, and most of the people that I met were also in high school. So we were too young to also know about each other's countries and cultures. I remember one time, one of the girls in my class asked me, "Are you surprised when you see girls wearing crop tops and wearing whatever they want in the US?" And I said, no, because a lot of Pakistanis in cities, so I am from Lahore, which is a big city, do wear what they want. And I know that culturally we do dress just differently, but we also have access to the internet. So I know already what things are like in the United States. In fact, I was a bit disappointed because things were not exactly like what they represent in the movies. So yeah, actual American high schools aren't like American movies, but I still loved it there. So yeah, just to put that out there, I feel like there's all of these perceptions that people have, and it's really interesting when you unpack these comments and when you understand where people are coming from. Now let's talk about religion. So since most people in Pakistan are Muslims, it is very different from the United States because I see a lot of atheist people. I think there are lots of Christians, lots of Jews, lots of Buddhists here, and there's a wide variety of religious groups which are all respected and accepted for the most part. I think that it's very easy to be a Muslim in the US in general compared to other countries that may not be exposed to Muslim culture at all. And this may look different depending on where you are, but I did find it very easy to find halal shops, halal meat, kosher food, as well as mosques and just different places of worship. I feel like it is also a really nice place if you want to learn about other religions and other cultures, because there are synagogues and churches that you can go to and people that you can talk to. I feel like I was asked a lot of questions about religion, about the role of religion in Muslim women's lives and whether they are oppressed or not, and my thoughts on that, and in general how I practice religion. I do feel like a lot of these questions are out of genuine curiosity, and you will have a lot of fun answering them and learning about how people think of Muslims, and some of them can come out of a place of Islamophobia, and they may not even be questions, they might just be remarks that people make. So I just want to talk a little bit about that. I think when I was in the States, I didn't realize it at the time. I didn't realize that people were being Islamophobic. But one time I was sitting in class and this guy came up to me and he sat right next to me and he said, "Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar." And I didn't understand what he was saying. I was like, is he saying the news? Because that sounds a bit like the word for news in my language. But he wasn't. He was trying to say Allahu Akbar, which is God is great. And he was trying to basically make fun of something that extremists would say, but is also just an Arabic saying, which is God is great. I found it funny, but also I was very calm. I was a bit disappointed that this was happening, but I feel like that's been my strategy throughout. I just get calmer when I see that people are maybe trying to aggravate me or trying to get a reaction out of me, because that is a lot of times what the intention is. But if it is a genuine question or if it is a genuine remark that people are making, I would answer it. I feel like for me, that was probably one of the worst things that has happened in that regard. But I do know that other students who have been with me in the United States have had different experiences. So this might look completely different if you wear a hijab, and people might ask 1,000 more questions just because you do physically look Muslim. I do remember one of my friends, he's also Pakistani, he was staying with a host family, and they would make casual, really Islamophobic remarks. So they would be watching TV, for example, and there would be advertisements, and they would say, "Oh, for you, probably there's like advertisements for religious extremist groups." I don't want to name them, but those kind of groups in Pakistan. And he would just be surprised and he would say, no, that's never happened and that's not what it's like to be in Pakistan. But some people will just, you know, make comments like that. I feel like it can be very tough if you are living with people who have these perceptions, and it can take a lot more effort to change it. I was very lucky because my host family was super nice and welcoming, and they really tried to understand me and just my culture in general. But I really did want to share this because I feel like a lot of Pakistanis don't know how Islam is perceived exactly. Although I do think that things are getting better and people are learning more about the religion, and a lot of them are just curious and just want to know more rather than trying to be disrespectful. I feel like it is very easy to see what a person's intention is in that regard, and for me, like I said, if someone is trying to be disrespectful, my strategy is to just stay calm and not give them the reaction that they probably want out of me. Now let's talk about the academics and the general educational experience in the United States as compared to Pakistan. I am, on a personal level, very satisfied with the education that I've been exposed to in the United States, and the reason for that is that I feel like it is a lot more focused on practical learning and project-based learning as opposed to memorization, which is a lot of what I think Pakistani education is about. One other thing is that in the US, at least in the schools and the institutions that I've been a part of, so I've studied at Babson College and also at an American IB high school, I feel like they have a lot more resources. In terms of physical resources, they will have huge playgrounds, track and field areas. Is that even a thing? I don't know. What is it called? But anyway, they have sports facilities, essentially. They have really good faculty, and a lot of those things aren't really present in the everyday Pakistani school, so I feel like that is very, very useful. Also, I feel like there is a lot of choice in terms of what you get to study. So in the US high school, for example, you have different types of classes. You have AP classes, honors classes, general level classes. So you can pick and choose the kind of difficulty that you want in different classes. And you can also choose fun classes like photography or videography. And I feel like that is something that I really didn't have the option to do in Pakistan. I didn't take full advantage of it because I didn't take photography or videography. But if you are going to study in the United States, I would definitely say take full advantage of that. I am changing that now that I am in college and I'm exploring my passions and taking a lot of classes just because they are fun and I want to learn them and not because I want to use them specifically in my career. I've also noticed that Americans have a great work ethic, and I feel like that really pushes you to do more. It is also true that they have a continuous assessment system. So in college and in high school, I was graded based on assessments and projects, and there's multiple of those. I'm also graded on each class here in college. I feel like this is very different from Pakistan, where I was mostly graded on one exam at the end of the semester or at the end of a month or even at the end of 1 year. Another great thing is that initiative is not only recognized but is also appreciated. So you're given a lot of chances to start new things such as new clubs, and there is a lot of opportunity to learn from others, and people are generally a lot more accessible, so you can speak with your principal, with your professors and your teachers very easily. You can learn from them. You can also talk with professionals and learn from them. That is all for this video. If you found this helpful, please let me know, and please let me know if you have suggestions or would like me to talk more about a specific topic.